there's some weird crackling going on around the outside of this sphere. Can you see it? Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. Now, a couple of years ago, I did a video where I made myself a phone grip, and I'd been using that phone grip constantly for the last couple of years until, unfortunately, this winter it fell apart. My phone grip part that I made was absolutely fine, but it was the clip itself that just detached and wouldn't go back together. Every time I put it on, it fell off again. So I put a plain one on my case, but I really want to make it mine, and I didn't want to use the phone grip mould. So I've decided to use a different type of mould to make my own phone grip, and hopefully it'll have my kind of signature colours, and yeah, let's have a go. So this is my case that's quite old and tatty and probably needs a good clean. I do actually give it a good clean while it's off the phone. And I have a few other spare phone grips that I'm going to make use of. I'm going to use this Stoyo UV resin for this. It's extremely thick. It's very low viscosity resin, but I think it would be ideal for a really deep pour. Now this is a small half sphere mould. I'm only using one half of it. It's not designed for UV resin and not really for this application either, but I figured it was about the right size to make a half sphere phone grip top. Now, after the previous video, I am absolutely hooked on this Aurora and Dark Magic from the Tiny Turners collection. They blew me away with the colours that I got from the starfish from the previous video, and I'll link that video in the top right hand corner. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. The colours are amazing. So I'm just literally mixing up a tiny bit in some of this Stoyo UV resin. I've dipped the back end of a paintbrush, just the stick part of the paintbrush, into it, and I'm scooping the colour through the UV resin, dragging it through, making a line, hopefully the longer the better. Obviously getting rid of any hairs that seem to have landed in it while I've been working. And I don't even have a dog or a cat, so I don't know where that came from. My hair's a lot longer than that one. Anyway, each time you put the stick in with a different colour, it will kind of disrupt. It will move the previous line that you've put in. So you've got to be really gentle. Place the line where you want to and try and do it quite slowly so that you don't mess up what you've already put in. I do think that a down and up motion with a stick and the colour works better, to be honest. After doing this a few times, and quite a lot of colour on there will give you a thicker, more sail-like swipe of colour. By sail I mean like a sail on the ship, you know, it kind of swoops out. But this is the first time I've done this. I don't know whether anyone else has done. Probably Daniel's done this. I don't know, I haven't seen, but I would imagine he has. So I'm not going to say this is my technique. I'm just trying it out. It's also worth mentioning here that I've got quite a large stick. Now I did want to grab quite a lot of colour, which is why I'd chosen the back end of a paintbrush, but I wanted it to be a defined colour, if you see what I mean. But that's what it looks like. It's very difficult to see, to be honest. Obviously, if it was a darker colour, you'd be able to see it better, but I chose Aurora, which is really faint green sparkle colour, and I love it. Now, I did actually forget to press record to start with when I was putting the dark matter on. This piece has cured back and front for about 5 minutes each side, and I've covered it with the dark matter. I then give it 2 or 3 coats of black UV resin. Now, as you know, black UV resin doesn't cure very well, so it really does have to be thin, and 2 or 3 coats works better. Now you can see that this resin is domed in the middle because it gets hot and it expands. I should really have top coated those with black epoxy resin and I would have got a flat surface, but I was short on time. I am absolutely delighted, however, with the way it's come out, and it's just about the right size. Could have done with being a little bit bigger for my phone grip. While I move it around, you can see those lines of colour in there, and it's gorgeous. But I want to do something different. So I'm going to make some little half cabochon pieces from dark colours, and I figured that if I put those in the big one for the phone grip, then they'll look like planets. You never know. That's the plan. These two colours, ether and nether, are extremely dark pigmented colours. They're going to act like black, so I have to do them in layers. I'm not going to lie, that took quite a while because there was a lot of layers in those little half spheres. But once I've got them to the top, I take them out and make sure I cure them on the back end as well, just in case there's any bits that I've missed curing. And I have little half spheres of a gorgeous green and a gorgeous blue. Absolutely stunning colours, these. So now it's time to fill up the half sphere mould again, and I decided that taking the lid off the bottle was a lot quicker than trying to pour it out the nozzle as it's so thick. I'm making sure I get rid of any little bubbles that have got stuck to the surface of the mould, and I give it a quick flick with a long lighter. By the way, if you're enjoying this content or my channel, click that subscribe button because it does help my channel out. You don't have to be a YouTube paying member, and it's free. And a thumbs up is really appreciated. Now I'm going to put in colours. Now this time I've got Supernova, which is a gold colour, goldy orange, an absolutely stunning colour. And I decided to make this one a little bit more varied with the colours that I'm putting in. Now I've got Eclipse, and Eclipse is a blue colour. Again, these are all ethereal pigments that change colour with a dark colour behind them. I'm using a smaller micro brush this time. As I'm putting in more colours, I want the lines to be smaller. And again, I'm using Aurora, the green one. Now, I'm not a green person, but this is beautiful. And I've just put in 2 pushes or swipes through of each colour. Quick flick with a long net lighter. And now I'm going to put in my little planets, making sure they're nice and flat to the surface. As they're half circles, they shouldn't attract any bubbles, or if they do, it should just look like a little planet next to it. So I'm not too worried about the bubbles. I know the planets will disrupt my lines a little, but I'm hoping they'll kind of look like gas clouds around the planet. And then I'll pop it under the lamp. This was a very weird moment though. I picked it up to turn it over and I noticed some weird lines in it. I had no clue what that was. Once I'd made sure it was cured on both sides, I took a better look. And it's like crackling. Now I think what I did was I accidentally picked up some Let's Resin UV resin to top this up instead of grabbing the same Estoyo resin, and I don't think they liked each other. There's some weird crackling going on around the outside of this sphere. Can you see it? Very bizarre. But I'm going to carry on with it because I can always fix it later. So I got out the dark magic again and I covered the top, and I gave it 2 or 3 coats of thin black UV resin, and I still was at this point very confused as to where that crackling had come from. But in hindsight, it's the only thing I could think of that I did. I must have done that by accident. Now it did occur to me, perhaps it hadn't cured properly on the other side, so I took it out of the mould and immediately put it back under the lamp, just in case it hadn't cured properly. But I hadn't had that problem with the previous ones, so I didn't know whether it was that or not. Now I know this shot's out of focus, but I had to leave it in to try and show you the crackles. Can you see them? Any suggestions of why that happened, let me know in the comment section below. Now luckily, I'd made 2 planets of each colour, so I decided to make another one. I was actually going to use that one for my phone, But as it was crackled and I didn't know if I could fix it at that point, I decided to make another one using the same colours, the same technique. And even though I dropped the blue planet on top of the green one, I managed to pull them apart. I do still think that black epoxy or even black PU resin would have been a better option than 3 layers of thin black UV resin. Now I did check this one before I turned it over and cured it, and it looked absolutely fine. This is an old sphere mould, by the way. It's not perfectly shiny, but I can buff them up on my buffing tool without any problem. And I love it. I really do. But I preferred the first one. So I'm really gutted that it's all crackly. This is beautiful. I love the way the supernova has clouded and sailed in the front part of the orb, but I still really like the first one. It is gorgeous, isn't it? The way the colours work together and how they look different when you turn them around depending on the light. I do love it. Look at that supernova. It's orange and gold and all sorts. So what I decided to do was to sand back the first one to see if I could actually get it to a place where I liked it. So this one is going on a spare phone grip. I score up the flat part of the phone grip and I've sanded back slightly the underside of the half sphere. I'm going to use Bob Smith Industries 5-minute quick epoxy glue. This stuff will stick to resin. You just need equal parts of the resin and the hardener, and it only takes a couple of seconds to mix it. You don't have that long. It starts curing very, very quickly. This is real time. This is me mixing it real time. I'm mixing it on a bit of paper. I could have actually mixed it on the phone grip itself. That would have been a better option, to be honest with you, but I didn't. I mixed it on a bit of paper, transferred it to the phone grip, spread it out and popped the half sphere on top. Try really hard to get it centered and then let it cure. Literally takes minutes, but a full cure is about 12 hours. But with the one I really liked, I've decided to go for it and sand it back. There are lines and ridges with it where I've done the layers. This is 2000 grit wet dry sanding paper. I don't want to do it any lower than 2000, and it does take a little time because I'm doing 2000. I do the underside with a 400 grit sanding paper though, because that doesn't matter if it's got scratches in it. I take it out to my garage and my buffing tool. I use the Chestnut System buffing tree with 3 different compounds, and it's an amazing resin saver. If you saw last week's video with the starfish, the one that had marks on it, I fixed it with my buffing tool. Well, when I saw how shiny this one came out, I made sure I buffed up and polished all the other pieces, and I did make some more pieces off camera, but this is my favourite and I just adore it. If only the camera could pick up how beautiful it was. It is really so sweet, and this one's going directly onto my phone. So these are all the phone grips I made in total. This is before buffing them, I might add, because they're a little bit on the dull side. This one I put some nail art foil in the back, but it had a few issues around the edge with some black that didn't cover, so I'm not keen on that one. This was the first one I made, and it is so adorable, absolutely beautiful, but it wasn't as deep as I wanted it to, and it doesn't sit brilliantly on the phone grip. But it was the first one I'd tried, and you learn by your mistakes, don't you? Hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. So this is the second type planet one that I did, and I do love it. I love the gold sails that it has in there, but it wasn't, again, as deep as I wanted it to be, and I think that's what put me off really. It sat slightly awkwardly as I placed it onto the phone grip, so it doesn't look flat. This is the one that I chose. I absolutely love it, and it doubles as a phone stand as well. Because it's quite bulky, it's not going to be for everyone. It's going to get in the way of some people when they're using their phone. But for me personally, I always lay my phone face down. And when I do prop it up, this doubles as a stand as well. It's just up my street. There isn't any purple in it, and there is green in it, which is definitely out of the ordinary for me. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope you've got something out of it. Come back and see me next week, because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting, and bye for now.